Hey coin lovers! Welcome to the Worth Old Coins channel, your place to discover the hidden value and rare facts about old coins. In today's video we're revealing the top 5 valuable coins, and one of them might just be in your collection. So don't skip this video, let's find out their real worth. Top 1. The 1963 United States 5-cent coin, commonly known as the Jefferson nickel, represents an important mid-20th century issue of America's enduring 5-cent series. First introduced in 1938 to replace the Buffalo nickel, the Jefferson design had, by 1963, already become a familiar feature of American pocket change. Its creation was tied to the desire for a more modern portrait of a founding father and a reverse celebrating a notable American landmark. By the early 1960s, the coin was a steady workhorse of commerce, passing through the hands of millions of Americans each day during a time of economic expansion, post-war optimism, and the dawn of the space age. The obverse front of the coin bears a left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson, third President of the United States and principal author of the Declaration of Independence. Sculptor Felix Schlag, winner of the 1938 design competition, created this dignified likeness. Along the left rim, the national motto, "In God We Trust," arcs in bold capital letters, while to the right appears the simple word, "Liberty," followed by a small star separator and the date 1963. The design's clean symmetry and crisp lettering give the coin an unmistakably American character, balancing classical portraiture with modern simplicity. The reverse, back, depicts Monticello, Jefferson's elegant Virginia estate. Schlag's carefully rendered neoclassical building shows the domed central structure and columned portico in fine detail, even on such a small canvas. Above the building stretches the Latin-derived motto E pluribus unum, meaning, out of many one, a statement of national unity. Beneath Monticello, the name of the estate appears in graceful serif letters, with the denomination 5 cents below and the legend United States of America curving along the lower rim. Together these inscriptions present a compact lesson in American ideals, faith, unity, and homage to a key figure of the nation's founding. Technically, the 1963 nickel adheres to specifications introduced in 1866 and still used today. It is composed of 75% copper and 25% nickel, a durable cupronickel alloy that gives the coin its pale silver-gray appearance and resistance to corrosion. It weighs 5.0 grams, measures 21.2 millimeters in diameter, and features a plain, smooth edge. This alloy and size make the nickel heavier and slightly larger than a dime, easy to distinguish by touch. The coins were struck on high-speed presses capable of producing hundreds per minute, with powerful blows that bring out the fine details of Jefferson's profile and Monticello's architectural lines. In 1963 production took place at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints. Philadelphia coins carry no mint mark, while Denver issues display a small D to the right of Monticello on the reverse. Combined mintages were immense, hundreds of millions, reflecting America's booming post-war economy and the heavy use of 5-cent pieces in vending machines, payphones, and everyday retail trade. Because of these large numbers, most 1963 nickels remain common, though well-preserved uncirculated examples with strong, full steps detail on Monticello's staircase are sought by collectors and command premiums. The year 1963 also gives the coin historical resonance. It was the last full year of President John F. Kennedy's administration and a moment of great cultural and political change in the United States. Yet in pocket change, the sturdy Jefferson nickel provided a reassuring continuity. Its design unchanged since the late 1930s as silver prices rose during the early 1960s. The nickel's copper-nickel composition became a model of stability compared to the silver dimes, quarters, and half dollars that would soon see dramatic alloy changes in 1965. From a numismatic standpoint, the 1963 Jefferson nickel appeals to several kinds of collectors. Type collectors prize it as a representative of the long-running design. Date and mint mark collectors seek examples from both Philadelphia and Denver, often focusing on well-struck coins with sharp steps on Monticello, a key indicator of a strong strike. High-grade pieces certified mint state, MS 65 or higher, with brilliant surfaces and minimal contact marks, are especially desirable, while proof coins struck in Philadelphia for collectors feature mirror-like fields and frosted devices. Culturally, the coin serves as a compact tribute to Thomas Jefferson's legacy. His advocacy of liberty, his authorship of the Declaration of Independence, and his fascination with architecture all find expression here. Monticello, carefully rendered on the reverse, is not merely decorative, it is a national landmark that embodies Jefferson's intellect and ideals. Millions of Americans handled this coin daily without necessarily reflecting on those connections, yet its presence helped keep a founding father's memory alive in the national consciousness and everyday life. The 1963 nickel was a practical tool. It purchased a newspaper, a cup of coffee in a diner, or a ride on a city bus clinked in pocket change alongside silver dimes and quarters, a silent witness to the era's music, civil rights marches, and technological advances. Even today, many examples remain in circulation, their surfaces worn smooth by decades of commerce, while others rest bright and untouched in collectors' albums. Top 2. The 1979 United States 5-cent coin, widely known as the Jefferson nickel, belongs to one of the longest-running coinage series in American history. First introduced in 1938 to replace the Buffalo nickel, the Jefferson design had by 1979 been in continuous production for over 4 decades, becoming a familiar presence in every pocket and cash drawer across the nation. By the late 1970s, the United States was experiencing economic turbulence marked by inflation and rising commodity prices, yet the humble nickel remained a sturdy workhorse of daily commerce, circulating in vending machines, parking meters, and convenience store tills from coast to coast. The obverse, front, presents the stately left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson, 3rd President of the United States and principal author of the Declaration of Independence. Sculptor Felix Schlag created this portrait for the original 1938 competition, and aside from minor sharpening of details over the decades, it remained essentially unchanged in 1979. The motto, "In God We Trust," sweeps in a graceful arc along the left rim, while the word "Liberty" stands to the right, separated from the date 1979 by a small 5-pointed star. Beneath the date appears a tiny mint mark, either D for Denver, S for San Francisco proof issues, or none at all for Philadelphia coins, indicating the facility where the piece was struck. The reverse, back, continues the long-familiar image of Monticello, Jefferson's neoclassical Virginia estate. Schlag's depiction shows the domed central house with fine columnar details, flanked above by the Latin phrase, E pluribus unum, meaning, out of many, one, a motto underscoring the unity of the American Republic. Below the building appears the name Monticello, followed by the denomination 5 cents, and finally the legend United States of America curving elegantly along the bottom rim. When well struck, the delicate steps leading up to Monticello are sharply defined collector's prize coins that display full steps, a term denoting a strong strike and exceptional preservation. Technically, the 1979 nickel maintains the traditional specifications of its series, a 75% copper and 25% nickel alloy, giving the coin its characteristic silvery gray hue and resistance to corrosion. Each piece weighs 5.0 grams, measures 21.2 millimeters in diameter, and has a plain, smooth edge. The alloy contains no silver. By the 1970s, the United States had long since removed silver from its circulating coins, so the nickel's intrinsic metal value remained comfortably below its face value even during periods of rising commodity prices. Production in 1979 was substantial. The Philadelphia Mint struck hundreds of millions of coins, identified by the absence of a mint mark, while the Denver Mint contributed a similar quantity carrying the D mint mark. The San Francisco Mint produced limited numbers of high-quality proof coins, distinguished by an S mint mark and brilliant mirror-like surfaces for collectors. Thanks to these enormous mintages, the 1979 Jefferson nickel is common in circulation and readily available to numismatists in all grades. Though pristine, uncirculated examples with sharply defined Monticello steps remain desirable historically, the year 1979 was one of economic challenge for the United States, with high inflation and energy concerns dominating public discourse. Yet, the Jefferson nickel provided a reassuring sense of continuity. Its weight, alloy, and design had survived world wars, the silver crisis of the 1960s, and changing artistic tastes. As Americans faced long gas lines or paid 50 cents for a cup of coffee, they still received the same familiar nickel, first issued before World War II, a small symbol of stability in uncertain times. For collectors, the 1979 issue offers several areas of interest. Those pursuing complete date and mint mark sets seek both the Philadelphia and Denver strikes, while proof collectors look for the San Francisco version in brilliant deep cameo finish. Specialists examine the reverse for the coveted full steps designation, which requires unbroken detail across all 5 or 6 steps of Monticello, an indication of a strong, even strike and careful preservation. Coins with full steps and grades of mint state 65 or higher can command notable premiums despite the overall abundance of the date. Culturally, the coin serves as a daily reminder of Thomas Jefferson's legacy, his authorship of the Declaration of Independence, his advocacy of democratic ideals, and his love of architecture embodied in Monticello. Millions of Americans handled this coin in 1979 without necessarily pondering those connections, yet every transaction silently celebrated a founding father's vision of liberty and learning. In everyday use, the 1979 nickel was and remains eminently practical. Its sturdy copper-nickel composition withstands decades of circulation with only gradual wear, and its size and weight make it easy to distinguish by touch, aiding the visually impaired. Even today, more than 40 years later, many 1979 nickels continue to circulate, their surfaces worn smooth, yet their design elements still recognizable, a testament to the durability of both metal and idea. Top 3. The 1964 United States 5-cent piece, commonly known as the Jefferson nickel, represents one of the most abundant and historically noteworthy dates in the entire series. First issued in 1938 to replace the Buffalo nickel, the Jefferson design by sculptor Felix Schlag had become a familiar cornerstone of American pocket change by the mid-1960s. The year 1964 sits at a crucial crossroads in U.S. coinage history. The nation was experiencing intense demand for small change, the price of silver was rising sharply, and the mint was preparing to eliminate silver from dimes and quarters. Against this backdrop, the 1964 nickel emerged as a workhorse of commerce and remains today one of the most widely struck coins of the 20th century. The obverse, front, displays the dignified left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson, third President of the United States and author of the Declaration of Independence. Along the left rim runs the motto, "In God We Trust," while the word "Liberty" and the date 1964 appear to the right, separated by a small 5-pointed star. Beneath the date rests the mint mark, either D for Denver or, in some cases, no mark at all for Philadelphia. The familiar sculptural lines of Jefferson's hair and coat, though softened over decades of dye use, convey both strength and intellectual refinement, mirroring his stature as a statesman and philosopher. The reverse, back, features Jefferson's beloved Virginia home, Monticello, rendered in neoclassical perspective. Above the central dome arches the Latin motto E pluribus unum, out of many, one. Below the building appears the name Monticello, followed by the denomination 5 cents, and finally the legend United States of America. Collectors pay special attention to the fine parallel lines of the front steps. Coins with all 5 or 6 steps fully struck earn the coveted full steps designation, a hallmark of sharp detail and careful preservation. Technically, the 1964 nickel adheres to the series' long-standing specifications: a copper-nickel alloy of 75% copper and 25% nickel, a weight of 5.0 grams, a diameter of 21.2 millimeters, and a plain, smooth edge. Unlike the dimes, quarters, and half dollars of its era, the nickel never contained silver, so the dramatic rise in silver prices that triggered a nationwide coin shortage did not directly affect its intrinsic value. Nevertheless, the mint struck unprecedented numbers of nickels to satisfy overwhelming public demand for circulating coinage. Indeed, mintage figures for 1964 are extraordinary. The Philadelphia Mint produced roughly 1.024 billion pieces, while the Denver Mint added about 1.787 billion, giving a combined total of more than 2.8 billion coins, by far the highest in the Jefferson nickel series up to that time. Because the coin shortage persisted into 1965, the Mint even continued to strike nickels dated 1964 well into 1965, creating a massive supply. This enormous output means that circulated examples remain plentiful today, though finding pristine, fully struck specimens with full steps can still be challenging. Historically, the year 1964 marked a turning point in U.S. monetary policy. Rising silver prices forced the government to remove silver from circulating dimes and quarters beginning in 1965. To discourage hoarding, officials temporarily froze the coinage designs and continued using the 1964 date on nickels, dimes, and quarters until new clad compositions were ready. As a result, the 1964 nickel embodies both the last year of old-style coinage policy and the first year of extraordinary modern minting output. For collectors, the coin offers several areas of interest. Although common in lower grades, attractive mint state pieces, especially those with crisp Monticello steps, command premiums. The Denver issue, marked D, is slightly more abundant but can show weaker strikes, while Philadelphia coins may display subtle die varieties. Proof-like strikes are not part of the official mintage because the mint suspended traditional proof sets in 1964, substituting special mint sets in 1965, so only regular-issue business strikes exist for this date. Culturally and aesthetically, the 1964 Jefferson nickel carries forward the ideals of Thomas Jefferson, celebrating his role as a principal architect of American democracy and an innovator in architecture and education. Every transaction in 1964, from buying a newspaper to riding a city bus, brought ordinary citizens into daily contact with these enduring symbols of liberty and unity. The coin's simple copper-nickel composition ensured durability, allowing many 1964 nickels to remain in circulation for decades. Even today, it is common to find examples in pocket change more than 60 years after their creation. Top 4. The 1996 United States 5-cent piece, commonly called the Jefferson nickel, represents the steady continuation of a coinage tradition that had already surpassed half a century of uninterrupted production. First issued in 1938 to honor America's third president, the Jefferson nickel entered its 59th year in 1996, quietly fulfilling its role as a dependable medium of everyday commerce. By the mid-1990s, the United States economy was experiencing robust growth, technological change, and a rise in electronic payments. Yet the humble 5-cent coin remained a physical reminder of stability, turning up in cash registers, vending machines, and pockets from Maine to Hawaii. The obverse, front, retains sculptor Felix Schlag's classic left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson, an image so familiar that it scarcely needed explanation to the millions who handled it daily. Along the left rim arcs the national motto, "In God We Trust," while the word "Liberty" and the date 1996 appear to the right, separated by a small 5-pointed star. Beneath the date sits the mint mark, P, signifying production at the Philadelphia Mint. This small letter holds quiet historical significance. The P mint mark for Philadelphia had first been introduced on nickels in 1980, so by 1996 it was still a relatively recent feature in the long life of the Jefferson series. Turning to the reverse, back, one finds the stately depiction of Monticello, Jefferson's neoclassical Virginia home. Above the domed building flows the motto, E pluribus unum, Latin for, out of many, one, a phrase affirming the unity of the American Republic. Below the mansion, the name Monticello appears in bold capitals, followed by the denomination 5 cents, and finally the legend United States of America. Collectors scrutinize the parallel steps leading up to Monticello. A coin that shows all 5 or 6 steps sharply separated earns the coveted full steps designation, evidence of a strong, even strike and careful preservation. The technical specifications remain those established at the series' birth in 1938. Each 1996 P nickel consists of a 75% copper and 25% nickel alloy, weighs 5.0 grams, measures 21.2 millimeters in diameter, and has a plain, smooth edge. This copper-nickel composition, long proven for durability, gives the coin its silvery gray appearance while avoiding the cost fluctuations of precious metals. Even as electronic transactions expanded in the 1990s, the sturdy nickel continued to serve millions of Americans in small everyday purchases. Production for 1996 was immense. The Philadelphia Mint struck well over 1.4 billion pieces, approximate reported mintage 1,449,130,000, ensuring widespread availability in circulation. Denver produced a comparable total with its own D mint mark, and the San Francisco Mint issued limited quantities of brilliant proof coins for collectors. Because of this enormous output, the 1996 P Jefferson nickel remains common in all circulated grades, yet high-quality uncirculated examples with crisp full steps are always attractive to specialists and can bring meaningful premiums. Historically, 1996 sits in an era of economic expansion and relative monetary stability for the United States. The nickel's purchasing power was modest. A typical vending machine snack might cost 50 cents or more, but its physical form linked late 20th century Americans to generations past. The same alloy and design had carried the nation through World War II. The silver shortages of the 1960s and the inflation of the 1970s and 1980s as people swiped credit cards or experimented with early debit systems. The 1996 P nickel provided a tangible connection to a simpler tradition of coin-to-hand commerce. For collectors, the 1996 P presents subtle opportunities. Mint state coins graded MS 65 or higher with full steps are prized for their sharpness and luster. Specialists also examine minor die varieties, such as repunched mint marks or unusual die cracks. Though none have achieved widespread fame, proof-like strikes from Philadelphia business dies are occasionally encountered and can be visually appealing. Because of the high mintage, assembling rolls or bags of uncirculated coins remains affordable, making the date a favorite for beginning Jefferson nickel enthusiasts. Culturally, the coin continues to honor Thomas Jefferson's multifaceted legacy as author of the Declaration of Independence, diplomat, president, and visionary architect. Every 1996 P nickel that passed through a cashier still silently commemorated Jefferson's belief in education, liberty, and Republican government. The enduring Monticello motif with its balanced columns and classical dome symbolized both personal refinement and the democratic ideals of the young republic he helped to found. Top 5. The 1985 D United States 5-cent coin, universally known as the Jefferson nickel, continues the proud lineage of a series first introduced in 1938 to honor America's third president, Thomas Jefferson. By 1985, this classic design by sculptor Felix Schlag had been circulating for nearly half a century, becoming an indispensable fixture of American daily commerce. Though the mid-1980s were marked by rapid technological change and a gradually modernizing economy, the humble nickel still jingled in the pockets of millions, serving as a quiet but enduring symbol of stability. The obverse front of the coin features Schlag's left-facing bust of Jefferson modeled after 18th-century portraits of the statesman. The national motto, "In God We Trust," sweeps in a gentle arc along the left rim, while the word "Liberty" and the date 1985 appear on the right, separated by a 5-pointed star. Just below the date rests the all-important mint mark, D, indicating that this coin was struck at the Denver Mint in Colorado. The D mint mark is clear but small, a subtle detail that collectors examine carefully when attributing mint origin and assessing strike quality. The reverse, back, continues to showcase Jefferson's celebrated Virginia home, Monticello, rendered in elegant neoclassical style. Above the central dome floats the Latin motto, E pluribus unum, meaning, out of many one, a reminder of the nation's unity. Beneath the building is the name, Monticello, followed by the denomination, 5 cents, and finally the inscription, United States of America. Specialists in Jefferson nickels pay close attention to the fine horizontal lines of the steps leading to Monticello's entrance coins that reveal all 5 or 6 steps sharply separated earn the coveted full steps designation, signifying a crisp, well-executed strike. Technically, the 1985 D nickel maintains the series' traditional specifications. A copper-nickel alloy of 75% copper and 25% nickel, a weight of 5.0 grams, a diameter of 21.2 millimeters, and a plain, smooth edge. This long-proven composition gives the coin its characteristic silvery gray color and excellent resistance to corrosion. Unlike the nation's silver coinage of earlier decades, the Jefferson nickel's intrinsic metal value remains safely below its face value, ensuring continued production without the economic pressures that had once driven dramatic changes in U.S. coinage. The Denver Mint struck an impressive mintage of roughly 360 million pieces in 1985, while the Philadelphia Mint contributed a similar total with its P mint mark. Such large-scale output means that the 1985 D remains readily available in circulation and in numismatic channels. However, well-preserved uncirculated coins with blazing original luster and fully defined Monticello steps remain highly desirable to specialists and can command meaningful premiums. Historically, 1985 was a year of economic expansion and technological transition for the United States. Personal computers and electronic payment systems were gaining traction, yet coins like the Jefferson nickel continued to facilitate countless everyday transactions: parking meters, payphones, convenience store purchases, and more. The coin's physical continuity served as a subtle link between America's founding ideals and the modern consumer economy, embodying the resilience of traditional currency in an increasingly digital age. For collectors, the 1985 D offers multiple points of interest. Mint state coins graded MS 65 or higher with full steps are the most sought after, as achieving a sharp strike with perfectly defined steps was not guaranteed on every Denver issue. Specialists may also look for die varieties such as minor die cracks, repunched mint marks, or unusual die polish lines, though none have become major rarities. Because of the plentiful mintage, assembling rolls or bags of fresh, uncirculated coins remains accessible for beginning Jefferson nickel enthusiasts. Culturally and symbolically, the coin continues to honor Thomas Jefferson's legacy as author of the Declaration of Independence, statesman, diplomat, and architect. Every 1985 D nickel that passed through a diner's cash register or a child's allowance quietly celebrated Jefferson's belief in liberty, education, and Republican government. The enduring image of Monticello, with its balanced dome and classical columns, reflects both Jefferson's personal aesthetic and the democratic ideals of the early American Republic. Thanks for watching my videos. Please subscribe my channel for more videos.